I kind of use these guys being around me kind of as like a clutch, right? Kind of like they were supposed to be that father figure because my dad was. Head, there are two types of people. People that want to love because they never had love, and that's the type of a little bit more now that I can't talk to you guys in a car, but I just want to be more in a personal setting because start right now acting like you have that dream house. A lot of people, I feel like there's a lot of people in our age group, fortunately, you know, might want to commit suicide because they feel like nobody cares about them. I've been around people to the point where I feel like I have all my family and friends in a room and I still feel like nobody understands me. Like who else felt like that? Like, seriously, how many times have you felt like that? But there's a way that you can learn to cope with your trauma, and there's a way that you can, you know, forgive yourself, because it's not you, guys. It's not you. You know, this is not your trauma. It's not something that you did. It's not you. It's just something that happens to us. But it's also, the main thing is our response to the trauma and how we respond to that situation. You understand what I'm trying to say? We go through so much trauma. I'm even talking about your baby father, your cousin, your mom, your sister, your boyfriend, me, you know, my husband. We all go through so much trauma to the point that some people, it can break them down. It can really break them down. I have people that I know that like literally isolate themselves. They don't want to talk to anyone. They want, you know, just literally, it's a lot. And I think we need to be a little bit more understanding to the trauma that minorities go through. The reason, you know, like even a kid acting out in school, you got to ask yourself, like, yo, why is this kid acting out in school? Like, why is he doing this? Like, there has to be some kind of reason or something that is making this kid act a certain way. But we're gonna finish this conversation when I get home. We're gonna finish this conversation, or I'll do some more snippets of this vlog, just because I feel like I just want to be a little bit more at home, so I could like talk to you guys a little bit more now that I can't talk to you guys in a car. But I just want to be more in a personal setting, because this is a topic that is gonna be I'm thinking about doing a 3-part. Hey you, I'm talking to you. Hey you. Hi guys, I'm Lovey, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Mind to Matter. Thank you guys for joining me. I really matter. I'm so happy to have you here. So if you're watching this video, we're going to be talking about some deep ass shit today. We're going to be talking about trauma. We're going to be talking about what is trauma and how trauma affects you and how trauma affects your daily life. I really honestly felt like something, I don't want to say, I'm going to be honest with you, I really felt the urge just to talk about this, because I feel like it's a big part of our lives. It really does. Trauma defines who you are, how you carry yourself, alright? So let's just jump, what you can do to cope with trauma, right? So for me personally, when I think of trauma, I kind of think of something devastating that you've been through that still affects you to this day, right? And that devastating thing could be, you know, maybe currently, maybe you're watching this video, and right now as you're watching this video, maybe you're homeless, right? Or maybe it may be a situation where, you know, you grew up in a single parent household, or maybe you grew up in a household where your parents weren't around, but they weren't there for you even though they're around. Maybe you were, I'm gonna be very honest, maybe at some point you were on a daily basis, and it also affects you as a person and how you handle life going forward. So that's really why I want to talk about this topic, because I feel like a lot of people right now are dealing with trauma, but they are not necessarily addressing the issue, or they're not dealing with the issue at hand. Because a lot of times, like, you know, for example, like for me, I never grew up with my dad in my life. I always grew up in a single family household. And I would say for me personally, for me personally, as a female, right, as a female being the age of 13 through, I want to say maybe 21, where I was kind of going through a phase where I was kind of like searching for myself, trying to find out like, who am I, like, how do I deal with certain things, like at that stage of my life, like, because my dad wasn't around and he wasn't there for me, I kind of used guys that talk to me, or guys that are like dating, or like one of my exes. I'm talking about me being a 14-year-old, like me being 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? I kind of use these guys being around me kind of as like a clutch, right? Kind of like they were supposed to be that father figure because my dad wasn't around, right? Like, you're a man and my dad is not around, so I'm kind of like searching for that father in that guy, and that's, for me, is kind of like where I made the mistake, for me, with how I handled a lot of situations before I actually woke up, you know. Being the fact that my dad wasn't there in the single family household that I grew up, and don't get me wrong, like, I had a lot of love around me, a lot of support, but have you ever in your life, and I want you guys to put the comments down below, have you ever, any time in your life, ever felt like that you can basically like be in a room full of people and don't feel love? Like, these are people that you know, like, this is your family, these are your friends, and still feel like nobody cares about me or nobody loves me. I know I have felt like that a whole bunch of times, and I can tell you I've been through some shit, and I know you've been through some shit. Everybody's been through some shit. Everybody has trauma, but sometimes you have. So now my outlook on trauma is that, for example, right, and I'm gonna say, before I even say my outlook, right, I'm gonna say my outlook. My thing is that, all right, boom, right, say for example, you have, and this could be your situation, it could not be, I'm just using this situation. Say for example, you are, you know, you have, you know, let's say your father is abusive, right? Let's say your father's abusive, he hits you, he beats you. I'm not talking about regular beating that your parent gives you. I'm not talking about those. Like, your dad literally hits you and he hurts you, and it affects you as a person, right? Growing up, and you're now an adult, you could turn around and do the same thing and go ahead and go and be on your kids when you have kids, or be on your partner, right? Because a lot of times what I tend to find is that you have two things, right? You have two type of people. In my head, this is just my opinion. I'm totally wrong. You guys can totally write your opinion at the bottom. They have two types of people. People that been through shit, that's like, yo, bro, I've been through so much shit, I would never treat my kids or treat anybody else like that. I would never treat my partner like that off of the fact I don't want to be treated like that. Like, I was treated like that. My dad used to abuse me, so I'm not going to now go and abuse somebody else. I'm not going to go do that. It doesn't make sense to me, right? But then you have another person, on the other hand, might have the same situation where they're dealing with a father or mother that's abusing them, and in their head, they're like, it hurts. Their father abusing them hurts them a lot, and that's not something that they really want to deal with. But then in turn, they end up maybe hitting their kids or being abusive to their partner. So in my head, there are two types of people. People that want to love because they never had love, and that's the type of person I am. Like, I want, like, don't get me wrong, like, I have a great relationship with my family. I have a great relationship with my mom. I don't know my dad. My dad wasn't around. I think you're gonna get real uncomfortable, and you're probably not gonna want to talk about, but that's what this video is for, right? This video is to make you feel uncomfortable, because somebody has to talk about it. Because if you don't, there are people out here, because they don't address the trauma and they don't ever deal with it, or they don't know how to deal with the trauma, that sometimes they end up, you know, unfortunately they end up, I don't want to say this because, you know, I'm on YouTube and stuff like that, but a lot of times people can end up actually committing suicide, or even hurting themselves or hurting somebody else, because they don't feel comfortable enough to talk to anybody, or they feel like they don't have anybody to talk to. Like, I know if you're watching this, you probably feel like that too. Like, I feel like that a lot of times, where I feel like I have nobody to talk to. Like, I feel like nobody understands me. And again, this is a big part of trauma, especially trauma in in the minority community, right? Because there's so many, how many kids, how many of your friends and people you know have grown up in a household where you're poor, or not even poor, you just, I've been poor too, I'm not acting, listen, you just don't got it like that. Your mama don't got it like that. Your mama working 2 jobs, trust me, I know. But this is why I want to talk about trauma. And even, let's even talk about the fact that girls that are, girls or women that like to have sex a lot, right? We have to kind of figure out where that comes from, right? Because I'm not just talking about regular sex. Like, everybody enjoys sex, but to the point where you don't even care about yourself, right? Because it's okay to have sex. There's nothing wrong with having sex. It's okay as long as you're of age to have sex, right? Of course, guys, please make sure if you are having sex that you are of age to have sex, and make sure that you're, you know, using condoms. Sorry, I just want to put that out there. I would say my really big thing, especially, you know, for, sorry, I have to fix my camera. My really big thing, especially for people that's dealing with trauma on a daily basis, because they never sat down to like actually figure it out or try to understand why they're acting a certain way, or why situations always come to them, or whatever the situation may be. I really honestly feel like, even when it comes to women, wow, being in a relationship where you're being abused physically, it's very hard